Wanna feel old? Pokemon Red and Blue released in America on September 28th, 1998. That was almost 24 years ago. I might be dating myself here by saying that I remember when those games were released as a kid, but hey, some of you watching this might not have even been born during that time. To say the least, since the time of the first generation of Pokemon, we've gone through several new generations and countless spin-offs. Some of those spin-offs, like Pokemon Ranger, Mystery Dungeon, and Rumble, were successful enough to launch a handful of sequels. Other spin-offs, not so much. Enter Pokemon Legends Arceus, the newest spin-off of the series that takes place in the distant past of the Sinnoh region. If you're not familiar with the Sinnoh region, that's the region you play through in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, as well as in the recently released remakes, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. The original Diamond and Pearl were considered the fourth generation of Pokemon games, and for some contrast, the most recent mainline games, Pokemon Sword and Shield, are considered the eighth generation, so you get an idea of exactly how far we've come. The Sinnoh region in the distant past is referred to as the Hisui region, and you play as a young man, or woman, basically pulled into that time by the titular Arceus, who's usually referred to in-game as Sinnoh. I know it's confusing. The plot of the game is fairly similar to many isekai anime. You're a person from a different time or place in history, and you have an advantage that others don't. In this case, you're not utterly terrified of Pokemon because your character comes from a time when people and Pokemon are living side by side. Back in this distant past, however, people are often scared of Pokemon because they're considered extremely dangerous. Even the bravest of trainers only usually have a singular partner, and generally that's because they helped one out in trouble, or one was given to them, and not because they actually caught them themselves. As a result, there's not a ton of trainer battles. Not to say that there aren't any, but they're considerably less than your average Pokemon game. No, Pokemon Legends Arceus is more focused on actual Pokemon and your interactions with said Pokemon. In most games of the series, your interactions with Pokemon tend to be binary. You fight or you run. Here, you can feed Pokemon, toss items to stun them, or feed them, watch them, and best of all, you can capture them. In most cases, with a little patience, planning, and luck, you can capture Pokemon without even needing to battle them. Luckily, if you like doing it in the traditional way, like bringing down their HP, slapping them with a status effect, and then throwing a Pokeball to capture them, you can do that as well. In some cases, like with enormous and powerful alpha Pokemon, capturing them in a more traditional fashion is usually more reliable, though still dangerous and challenging. New to the series are space-time distortions. Sometimes while you're traveling the world, these domes of chaotic energy will appear. Entering them is a dangerous prospect, as often several Pokemon will appear at one time, and they're all very aggressive and very powerful. However, these distortions are the only way to find certain kinds of Pokemon and items, so they're always worth the risk of having even a quick jaunt through them. Though after you find your first Porygon, you quickly come to realize that these events are only around to give you access to Sinnoh Pokédex Pokemon that don't make sense normally. For example, there is a Hisuian Sneasel, but you can find the original version in Distortions. The aforementioned Porygon makes zero sense in this timeline as a cyberspace Pokemon, in a time where Pokeballs are considered cutting-edge technology, so having them appear in Distortions helps circumvent that problem. There's a number of quality of life additions in Legends that I think need to move forward into future games and not just any future Legends spin-offs. For example, being able to actively choose what moves your Pokemon can use just about anywhere is a huge help. Did you change one move for another and decide you want the old move back? You can do that in less than 15 seconds. Another change that's been done in the past but needs to continue is Ride Pokemon. Originally, you had to assign hidden machine moves to Pokemon, or assign a single Pokemon as an HM slave that had all HM moves in order to progress through the game, travel quickly, find secrets, or solve puzzles. This meant that you were basically functioning with just a team of 5 instead of 6, and even then you were wasting valuable move slots on the Pokemon you did have to fill in the blanks. Sun and Moon were the first games to introduce Ride Pokemon that do that for you, and Legends continues that tradition that needs to remain even with future remakes and spin-offs. In terms of music, with the exception of the ear-grating Jubilife Village music, Legends music is spectacular, and it has a tune to fit just about any situation, from the fury of the battle melody to the unnerving tones present in space-time distortions, or even just the tunes that accompany travel through the many areas present in Hisui. The only time Legends misses here is when the game gives you deafening silence and then hits you with music out of nowhere. It's a bit jarring and sometimes removes me from my immersion. As far as graphics go, you've probably heard plenty of tales about Legends' hit or miss graphics by now. The game looks passable most of the time when you're looking at things up close, but the further away they get, the worse they look. For example, distant Pokemon often move at single-digit frame rates, and the water looks really bad from a distance. People like to compare Legends to Breath of the Wild, a game that released much earlier in the Switch's lifespan, but even that Zelda game didn't look quite as bad as Legends does sometimes. Personally, I don't have a problem with it, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't remove me from my immersion from time to time when it did happen. At least it's usually worth a good laugh when you notice it. Beyond the graphics and frame rate, which everyone knows about by this point and we're just beating a dead horse by continuing to talk about it, Legends has a problem in that if you aren't into the idea of playing a game returning to its roots, that is, gotta catch 'em all if you couldn't remember, then you're probably not going to enjoy this game. When you're not following the story, you're exploring every little nook and cranny of every map to find new Pokemon and to fill out the Pokedex. If that's not something that appeals to you just by the sound of it, you're probably going to struggle to enjoy Legends. In a similar vein, filling the Pokedex can be a daunting task. Gone are the days of knowing everything about a Pokemon at first capture. Capturing is just the first step to properly filling out that Pokemon's entry. The initial goal is to get that Pokemon's entry to a rating of 10, but that's a confusing endeavor that involves capturing several of that same Pokemon, often while asleep or while unaware, watching that Pokemon use specific moves several times, so on and so forth. There's some benefit to filling out a Pokedex entry, which comes in the form of increased shiny spawn rates, which often greatly increases your odds of finding that Pokemon shiny, but even getting that is often a slog and feels a lot like work. Hell, even just getting an entry to 10 is often a grind in later areas. Don't forget that this is often the case with not just one Pokemon, but with all of its evolutions as well. So the only real motivation to even reach a 10 rating is for requests, or to increase shiny odds, or just to increase your trainer rating. Speaking of requests, a lot of them come at you fast and hard, and you'll often have several or more just sitting around until you can be bothered to do them. The only ones worth doing immediately are the ones that give you new recipes, give you access to new fast travel locations, or increase clothing and general store offerings. Beyond that, the rewards for requests are often not really worth the effort and just feel like more busy work in a game that's already saddling you with the series' most common form of busy work that is the Pokedex. Finally, the game has a lot of items to pick up while you travel, and each of those items have a use. Unfortunately, most of the items on offer you don't even really need. For example, why create food to distract Pokemon when berries and honey do the same things and are readily available everywhere you go? The only items worth picking up most of the time are the ones that let you craft the game's various kinds of Pokeballs, potions, and revives. The sheer variety of items, while nice, aren't necessary often enough to justify having them with you out in the field, taking up precious inventory space. Needless to say, Pokemon Legends Arceus isn't the best Pokemon game, but it's the best Pokemon game in a long time. The series' batting average as of late hasn't been great, but Legends is a breath of fresh air, especially if you're a longtime fan, and it's accessible enough that even newer fans, or older fans that haven't really kept up with the series, can pick it up and jump right into it, so I can suggest it for just about anyone. There's a lot of references in there that'll fly over the heads of people that haven't played Diamond and Pearl or their remakes, but not so much that it detracts from the experience. It's still a lot of fun, which is more than I can say for a lot of the more recent Pokemon games. Thanks for hanging out. Remember to subscribe or drop a like, or join us on Twitter for updates on when videos drop. Link in the description below. See you soon.